They're the gargantuan tamales of Central America, stuffed with meat, vegetables, and fruit. We're making Nacatamales today, so let's get started. The first thing I want to do is to get my meat marinating and to soak a little bit of rice. I'm making a small batch of Nacatamales today, so I've got about 2.5 pounds of pork butt here, cut into bite-sized pieces, and about 3/4 of a cup of rice. And this needs to soak for an hour in some warmish water, and that's plenty of time to marinate the meat. The marinade for the meat is really simple, but you might have to look around a bit for the ingredients. I've got some annatto paste, and aside from giving this a nice seasoning, it's gonna give it a nice natural red color. This is actually the ingredient they use in cheddar cheese to give it the orange color these days. Aside from that, I've got some bitter orange juice. Now, if you can't find the bitter orange juice, you can look online and find a lot of different recipes to mimic this using all kinds of different citrus fruits. So this is pretty easy to replace. I've also got a couple of cloves of garlic. Now, I'm only going to use half of the annatto paste in this because I'm doing a small batch of Nacatamales, and the first thing I need to do is to dissolve it with the garlic and the orange juice. And it's kind of hard to dissolve it without a little processor or a blender. So I'm going to throw those in there, and I'm going to add in 1 cup of the bitter orange juice. Now that's all it's going to take. And I'm just going to have to waz this down until that is all nice and dissolved. And there it is. You'll see that I didn't add any salt to the marinade, and that's because I'm going to use some of this marinade to flavor the masa as well. So I'm going to go ahead and add the salt directly to the meat, a couple of big teaspoons here probably, and that way our meat will be nice and seasoned, and I won't be adding extra salt into the masa dough. So let's start the masa dough. First thing I'm going to do is puree some red bell pepper. You could use green bell pepper also, or a combination of both. That's half a bell pepper for this batch that I'm doing. A couple of tomatoes. About the equivalent of 1 small onion I have here. 3 cloves of garlic. I'm going to add into here about a teaspoon of fresh ground cumin. Probably 2 teaspoons if it's pre-ground and not extremely fresh. And I'm going to pour in the rest of that annatto and bitter orange. Now we're just going to waz that down into a smooth paste. This is a little thick. I'm going to go ahead and add in 1 more half cup of that bitter orange juice. For this recipe, I'm going to start with 4 cups of instant masa. I'm using the instant masa so I don't have to cook this at all. I'm going to put in our pureed veggies and spices. And 1 cup of melted lard. And yes, you do need to use lard. And I'm gonna use my weak little electric mixer and get that started. Now I'm going to start adding in my chicken stock. I think this is going to take about 3 cups, and I'll just keep adding it in until it gets to be kind of like a Play-Doh consistency. You'll see. There. That looks pretty good. You'll see it is similar to Play-Doh, a little softer, sticks just a little bit to my fingers. Basically, you don't want this to kind of run when you go to form your tamale. You want it to hold its form. Now, this took me about 2.5 cups of stock this time, and that's going to vary depending on how much of the vegetable mix I put in there. So now I'm going to check this for seasoning and set it aside while I get everything else ready. Now, to me, the really fun and interesting part about these Nacatamales is the fillings. So in addition to our marinated pork, I've got tomato slices, onion slices, some prunes, raisins are pretty common in here too, bell pepper, red, green, or a mix, a little bit of mint, the soaked rice, and some potato slices, and these are all going to get wrapped up in some banana leaves. Let's talk about banana leaves for a second. Do you need them for the recipe? Well, I believe you do. I think they're going to impart some flavor, plus they've also got the size to handle these massive tamales that we're about to put together. Now, you can find these sometimes fresh or in the freezer section. Just make sure they're very thawed out very well before you start to manipulate them so they don't crack. And then wash them really well and just kind of wipe them dry with a paper towel because you don't know what kind of jungle funk you're bringing in with these. I'm going to use a double layer of banana leaf, and I'm going to arrange these so the grains run in opposite directions. You can see this one, the grain is running this way, and this one this way. And that's because the banana leaf is very difficult to tear across the grain, but really easy to tear with the grain. So when I double it up, that's going to help this thing hold together a little better when I'm rolling it. Now I'm going to start out with a big heaping pile of that dough right in the middle of our leaves. That's more than a cup. That's a big heaping cup full of the dough. Then I'm going to grab a handful of our marinated meat. Just get right in there and lay that on top. And now I'm going to go around and start adding all the other ingredients. We're going to get the bell peppers. We're going to get the onion. I'm going to throw in 1 or 2 of those prunes, maybe 1 on each end like that. We're going to get about a tablespoon or so pinch of that rice. A couple of tomato or potato slices. Then we'll get the tomatoes on top of that. A few slices there. These are real big. As long as you got enough banana leaf to wrap it up, you're doing good. I do like to put a little bit of salt on those tomatoes because they're pretty bland. And then we'll top that with just a few of these mint leaves. Okay, to wrap this up, grab 2 corners, pull them up over the middle, then we're going to roll that down. So I feel the top of the filling there. Then fold up this end, and then this end. Oh, the potato slid off, so I just tuck it right back. Fold that up. And there's our nice little packet. Grab a little butcher's twine. Get under there. Bring that up. Cross it over the middle. Flip it. Tie it off. Right in the middle. There you go. Well, that's a beauty. I mean, tuck these in there. That is a meal. I mean, this thing weighs probably a pound. That is a good meal once these are done. So I'm going to get the rest of these all ready, and then we're going to set up the steamer. I need to set up a steamer to cook the nacatamales. I don't have a dedicated steamer, so I'm just going to use my stock pot, and I'm going to use the rack from the bottom of my pressure canner. And if you had some kind of grill or grate, whatever you can fit down in there is going to be all right. I'm going to use something to hold this up a few inches off the bottom So I'm going to use this Pyrex in there. I know that's not going to break. Make sure you don't put something in there that's going to shatter. You could use crumpled up aluminum foil if you want. And then this will rest right on top of there. And I'm going to fill this up with water till it's right at the level of the rack. Perfect. Now I'm going to cover this up with more banana leaves. Make a nice bed of banana leaves down here. And I'll go ahead and get this boiling and then load it up with our Nacatamales. The steamer's all heated up, and I'm just going to stack the Nacatamales in here. I think I've got enough room. There we go. And now, I'll add even more banana leaf. Cover those up, kind of keep the steam down in there. Oftentimes these are boiled even. I like the steam texture. I'll weight the top down with a couple of big cans like such. Get this back onto the heat and let this steam for 4 hours at a medium heat. And you know what that means. We've been steaming these for about 4 hours at medium-low heat. And now we need to let them cool for a while and firm up before we eat them. So if I leave them in the pot like this, that's going to take a couple of hours. If I take them out and kind of lay them in a single layer on a sheet, that'd probably be good in about an hour. The Nacatamales are still nice and warm, but I can feel that they have firmed up inside. So let's take a look at how we did. Oh my. Now let's get inside of here and see how we did. The meat is so tender, the fork cuts right through it. There we go. And that looks spectacular to me. Well, I hope you give this a try, and I hope you like it. And if you do, please like and subscribe for more. Thanks for watching.